Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Dillian Whyte defeats Jermaine Franklin by a majority decision in what was a really competitive fight. Going into this fight, despite me being aware of Dillian Whyte's limitations, his rawness in his approach, I still expected him to win this fight comfortably. I had seen bits and bobs of Jermaine Franklin in the past. I saw his fight with Jerry Forrest, where I felt he got a bit of a gift decision, quite frankly. But yeah, I saw Jermaine Franklin, and I saw a guy who was out of shape, slow feet. Yeah, he's got relatively quick hands. Yes, he can pick the odd good punch here and there. He's got the odd trick and whatnot. But ultimately, I just saw him as a also-ran kind of thing. You know, and I expected Dillian Whyte to basically overpower him more than anything. But that's not what happened in this fight. Jermaine Franklin really extended Dillian Whyte, and he won many rounds in this bout. The scorecards were 116-112 to Dillian Whyte 2 times, and the other card was 113-113. So two judges had Dillian Whyte by a couple of points, and the other had it a draw. And honestly, that's the sort of fight in which I saw. I think best case scenario, Jermaine Franklin a draw. I could maybe see a way you could do that. But he certainly didn't win the fight. But he ran Dillian Whyte very close. I think 116-112, 115-113 is about right, quite frankly. But Jermaine Franklin started this fight very well. He was active with his lead hand, his jab. And he was nice and compact in this fight early on. He was jabbing Dillian to body and head, boxing quite effectively from distance. You know, not really powerful shots, but, you know, they were landing. And at times as well in the first 2 rounds, he was countering Dillian's body shots. So Dillian would go downstairs with his own left hook. At the same time, he would drop his right a little bit. And Jermaine Franklin would counter that with his own left hook to the head. And he was countering Dillian Whyte quite effectively in the first 2 rounds. And I felt he probably won the first 2 rounds, to be honest. After that, though, I felt Dillian Whyte came back into it. He started to close the distance on Jermaine Franklin. And I felt he was landing the better shots on the inside. Certainly in regards to body shots. Though I will say this. Aside from the legitimate body shots, Dillian Whyte landed so many low blows in this fight. And the referee, man, he barely warned Dillian Whyte. I mean, the referee in this fight was pretty crap, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he gave Franklin no protection whatsoever from those low blows. But regardless, Dillian was still landing some good body shots. He was landing some cuffing shots on the inside, around the side of Franklin's guard. And yeah, when it got up close and personal, you could tell that Dillian was the stronger man. Obviously, he's taller, he's bigger, he's heavier. And you could tell that up close. You know, Dillian was a bit too strong for Franklin up close. But, you know, Franklin was still finding the odd shot here and there on the inside. One shot that didn't work for him, however, was the uppercut. Dillian Whyte in this fight kind of used a cross-arm guard at times, which was really effective at blocking the uppercut. But yeah, as the fight went on, it was kind of ebb and flow. Franklin would have a good round. He would vary the level with that jab, and he'll throw the 1-2. He was kind of looping the right hand around Dillian Whyte's guard, and occasionally he would also hook to the body as well. He himself was landing some good body shots in this bout. And going into the last sort of 2 or 3 rounds, I felt this fight was up for grabs for both men, quite frankly. But I felt Dillian, and actually, before we get there, round 9, Jermaine Franklin had a really good round. And he finished the round super strongly, actually. He caught Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte was opening up, and he kind of threw himself off balance. And Franklin caught him with an overhand right bang on the chin. And I wouldn't say Dillian Whyte was on death's door, but he was certainly hurt by that shot. His legs went a little wobbly at the end of round 9. But to Dillian Whyte's credit, he finished this fight strongly. He was the more active guy in rounds 10, 11 and 12. And he closed it out strongly, in my opinion. He was really loading up with those hooks to the body. He also landed a really good right hand on Jermaine Franklin, I think, in round 10. How Jermaine Franklin wasn't hurt by that shot, I'll never know, because it was bang on the chin, full impact, and Franklin was moving into the shot, but Franklin took it well. But yeah, I mean, I just felt that Franklin in the last 3 rounds didn't really do enough. He was landing some good shoe shine shots now and again, but nothing of any significance. And round 12, I felt Dillian Whyte in particular closed out really well. He was actually varying the left hook in round 12 to body and head. He caught Jermaine Franklin with a really good left hook to the head, followed up with a right hand, which sent Jermaine Franklin back into the ropes. He was definitely hurt by that shot. And yeah, if round 12 went a little longer, I wouldn't have been shocked to have seen Jermaine Franklin hit the deck, because round 12 he was spent and he got hurt in round 12. And I felt really that was enough to give Dillian Whyte the win here. Jermaine Franklin post-fight saying he got robbed. I disagree. He did well. He did better than I expected, but he didn't do enough to win in my opinion. Having said that though, in regards to Dillian Whyte, I wasn't really impressed with his performance. GSP voice. But yeah, I mean, he was very lethargic in this fight. It looked like he was going through the motions. At times, this fight looked like a high-intensity sparring session. Both guys kind of driving and rolling, throwing on the inside. Franklin was kind of shoe-shining a bit too much for my liking. But Dillian Whyte, for my liking, was just... He was going through the motions, is what I would say. He never looked like... Apart from round 12, he never really looked like hurting Jermaine Franklin, to be honest. But Franklin did show good defense. He was rolling with shots quite effectively. No doubt about it. He was taking the sting off shots. But yeah, I mean, there was no real intensity from Dillian Whyte in this fight. And yeah, I agree with people when they say that Dillian Whyte never really had great skills, because I agree, he never did. But you would always get intensity from Dillian Whyte. You would always get that aggression and that kind of never say die attitude. But for me, that was lacking in this fight. I saw a guy who was going through the emotions. Maybe that was because he's got a new trainer now in Buddy McGirt, or maybe he's just seen better days. Dillian Whyte has been on the end of 3 knockouts, bad knockouts at that. Well, two of those knockouts were bad, Povetkin and Joshua. He's had some wars. He's in his mid-30s now. Maybe Dillian is just past his best at this point in time. I will say, though, I'm not convinced that Buddy McGirt is the right trainer for Dillian Whyte. Quite frankly, I saw Team Groves say this on Twitter, and I make him right. Despite Dillian's average skill set, he's gone downhill since he's left Mark Tibbs. There's no doubt about it in my mind. He's gone downhill. And yeah, I think looking back, that was a terrible, terrible decision, but it is what it is. Going into any big fight of significance against any relevant top heavyweight contender or champion, I would make Dillian Whyte an underdog in pretty much every elite heavyweight fight right now. Wilder, I'd make Wilder a favourite. Obviously, he lost to Fury. They're talking about a Joshua fight. Well, based on that, Joshua will knock out Dillian Whyte 4 or 5 rounds, I would say. Yeah, I think Dillian basically now he'll get that Joshua fight, he'll get knocked out, and that'll be it. That is my prediction for Dillian Whyte's future. I don't think you'll see him around much longer, honestly, but it is what it is. I mean, it was a better fight than I expected, I can't lie. It was more competitive than I expected. Franklin, though, turned up out of shape. Franklin, you know what? Franklin does actually have some decent skills. He can defend himself. He's got a nice variety of punches for a heavyweight. He showed a good straight right, a good jab, a looping right hand, good left hook to the body. Showed some nice moves defensively. I think Franklin has skills, but he's just out of shape. My man turned up there with titties, No cap, yeah, but I've been with some women who would have loved to have had the same size titties as Jermaine Franklin. So he turned up out of shape. Hopefully this fight makes him train, lights a fire under his ass, so to speak. Because the guy does have skills. He needs to get back to the gym, lose some weight, and see where he can go, But, yeah, was what it was. Decent fight. Dillian Whyte looked pretty poor, and based on that, I can't pick him to be any legitimate heavyweight contender. That's how I see it. Anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.